Hey everyone, hey, I'm Dan Lomar, Certified Financial Planner with United Wealth Management, coming at you with another subscriber question. So first of all, thank you all for submitting your questions. I love doing this shorter video format and just answering these questions one at a time as they come in. Keep them coming. Thank you. And before we go on, before I answer, remember subscribe and hit the bell icon so you get notified when new videos come out. So this week, the question is, what's the advantage, if any, of a Roth IRA versus a Roth 401k? Okay, so remember, a Roth account is money goes in after taxes, and then it grows tax-free for the rest of your life. That's assuming you make qualified withdrawals. We're not going to get into that. But today we've done all that, and we decide we're going to make Roth contributions. Should I do it into a Roth IRA or into my Roth 401k? So the big advantage of making those contributions into a Roth IRA is that you always have access to the principal. So in 2021, you can put up to $6,000 if you're under 50 or $7,000 if you're over 50. You can put that amount into a Roth IRA. So let's just say you put $7,000 in this year, and let's say you do it tomorrow. Well, the day after tomorrow, you can take that $7,000 back out. You always have access to the principal in a Roth IRA. That's the big advantage of it. Whereas with a Roth 401k, is you don't always have access to that principal, because a lot of times the plan rules tie that money up and they don't want you taking it out. And so it's much more difficult to take that principal out if you can at all. And a lot of times that's just because they've got pre-tax money mixed up from 401k company contributions. So anyway, we're not going to get into that, but that's the big advantage of a Roth IRA versus a Roth 401k. A good example of that in my own personal situation was a couple years ago. We were doing some home improvements, and of course I'm looking at all the resources I have available. I've got a Roth IRA over here. So yeah, I pulled a little bit of money out of that Roth IRA to help us make those home improvements. Of course, I'm not a big proponent of tapping retirement resources or assets for everyday living, but I am also a believer that you got to live your life, and it was just kind of nice to take advantage of that when being that was available. So I pulled a little bit of money out. It was principal. The principal is what always comes out first in a Roth IRA, and the principal is never taxed and is never penalized. That's the reason that you always have access to the principal in a Roth IRA, not a Roth 401k. So the other thing is that another big advantage of a Roth IRA is that there are no required minimum distributions beginning at age 72, whereas with a Roth 401k, you do have required minimum distributions at age 72. So the Roth 401k plan is most likely going to make you take that money out whether you want to or not from the Roth accounts. Easy fix to that is in retirement, you can just roll your Roth 401k into a Roth IRA. But anyway, that is just another advantage of a Roth IRA versus a Roth 401k. Now, are there some advantages to a Roth 401k? Absolutely, there are. And that is that there are no income restrictions. Remember, with an Roth IRA, you either have to be below certain incomes to be able to contribute to a Roth IRA, or you have to be able to do a backdoor Roth IRA, which I've got another video on, but I'm not going to get into that right now. So there are some restrictions on being able to contribute to a Roth IRA, whereas with a Roth 401k, there are no income restrictions, and you can put more money in. So in 2021, a person under 50 can put up to $19,500, and then a person over 50 can put up to $26,000 into a Roth 401k. So that's a big advantage right there, is because the no income restrictions, and then also you can put more money in. So those are the big things right now. That's the big difference in the advantages between a Roth IRA and a Roth 401k. And remember, we're not talking about traditional versus Roth contributions that has to do with tax rates between now and the future. We're not talking about that. We're assuming you've already made up your mind you want to put it into a Roth. Now, the best of both worlds would be to contribute to both a Roth IRA and a Roth 401k. There's nothing that says you can't do both, okay? Again, you still have to make the eligibility requirements of the Roth IRA, but the best of both worlds would be, hey, you can contribute to both if they're both available to you. It's not an either or situation. I hope that helps. Hey, thank you so much for submitting your questions. I love doing these shorter format videos and just answering questions like this one at a time. If you like the channel, remember to subscribe, hit the bell icon so that you get notified when new videos come out. And again, in 2021, I want to be here as a resource for all United pilots. So if you got questions like this, hey, submit them to me. Email them, Dan@unitedwealthmanagement.com. Let me know what's on your mind. I'd be love to answer these questions like this one at a time. And if you got these questions, so do a lot of other people. Hey, thanks again for tuning in. Fly safe out there.